The 2018 summer transfer window was witness to some major deals. Cristiano Ronaldo to Juventus, Riyad Mahrez to Manchester City, and so on. While the big European league's usual suspects were in the thick of it, another team caught the attention of many. Pyramids FC, a brand new club from Egypt, who set a new expenditure record for an African team and has one of the most extravagant football stories of the year. Pyramids FC spent €40 million building a squad from scratch, signing 23 players and a staff. But how did the new Egyptian team spend more than Porto, Watford and Chinese club Guangzhou Evergrande? Pyramids FC was founded on the structure of El-Mokaweloon Sport, a club originally from Bani Suef that was established in 2008, played in the second division and in 2014 was promoted for the first time to the Egyptian Premier League. Al-Sheikh was never a serious power in Egyptian football, with Al-Ahly and Zamalek there or thereabouts, one important club in Port Said, Al-Masry, and a couple of smaller clubs that mainly cultivate the young local talents, El-Mokaweloon Al-Arab and Smoha. In the summer of 2018, Al-Sheikh was bought by the Saudi billionaire Turki al-Sheikh, the Saudi Arabia sports minister, chairman of the Islamic Solidarity Sport Federation, and a close friend of Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi Crown Prince. All in all, one of the most powerful figures in Asian and Middle Eastern football. Al-Sheikh kept its assets, but has since gone through some drastic changes. They moved to Cairo and found a home at the 30th of June Stadium, a 30,000-seater ground. The club's name was changed to Pyramids FC, with an eye on the global potential of such branding. The logo and team colours were also changed, and Pyramids TV, the club's own TV station, was launched. The location change left the club without a fan base, so to get around this initially, fans were hired and paid to support the team live at games that they were allowed to enter. It's worth pointing out that in Egypt, fans haven't been allowed to enter league games since the 2012 Port Said disaster and the 2014 violent backlashes which caused multiple casualties. The launch included a series of videos and advertisements setting the stage for the club's remarkable entrance into the Middle Eastern and African football sphere. With the buzz officially created, Pyramids and Al-Sheikh began to announce their new signings. Now, unusually for an Egyptian club, many of the Pyramids' incoming players came from the world's most popular market, Brazil. Carlos Eduardo from Goiás, Ribamar from Atlético Paranaense, and Arthur from Chapecoense all arrived in exchange for figures of 5.2, 4 and 5.1 million euros respectively. More notable still were the deals made for Keno, the Palmeiras midfielder who arrived for 8.6 million, and Rodriguinho, the Corinthians attacking midfielder who even made the shortlist for the Brazil 2018 World Cup squad. No other African club has ever made comparable moves in the Brazilian market. International level players from all over the region have signed, and more locally, rival teams were raided. Pyramids also invested in a host of promising youngsters from teams all over the league. As for staff, the list is impressive. Former Al-Ahly manager Hossam Al-Badry was hired as the club's chairman. Ahmed Hassan signed as the spokesman and football team supervisor, and Hadi Kashaba is the new football director. Alberto Valentim, one of the most promising coaches in Brazil, was signed as the head coach, and finally, Ricardo Lavolpe, who worked for Boca Juniors in Mexico, was also hired. Badri declared that the Pyramids enterprise is focused on improving and encouraging progress in Egyptian football, but was that really the reason for all of the investment? Perhaps partially, but at the heart of Pyramid FC's creation, there's a story of respect, political revenge, and power. It highlights many of the issues in the Egyptian game, and it focuses on one important man, Turki al-Sheikh. It's been almost 2 years since the controversial young Saudi Turki al-Sheikh entered the Middle Eastern football world in a storm. Since then, he's become very active in a variety of fields. He improved and developed the professional level of the Saudi League. He partially opened stadiums in Saudi Arabia for female supporters and invested in and planned many of the programs developing football in the whole region. At the same time, Al-Sheikh was the architect of a handful of controversial football stories over the past year. He sent 10 Saudi players to Spanish clubs in a program that failed to improve the Saudi national team for the World Cup. He was in charge of the controversial signing of his associate, the Bolivian coach Julio Valdivieso, for the Palestinian national team, despite the fact that they were in their best ever era under a promising local manager. And he somehow convinced FIFA to hold an impromptu Gulf Cup in Kuwait, despite the fact that the country was still on probation after a ban for governmental intervention in local football. In some cases, his work has been seen as refreshing and positive, and in others, negative and worthy of suspicion. But what led to his current involvement in Egyptian football? Well, last season, Al-Ahly, Egypt and Africa's most famous and decorated football club, was drowning in debt. Having faced similar situations before during the club's 111-year history, the club's board, democratically elected, had usually handled every crisis in-house. This time, allegedly, the debts and tensions were so deep and complicated that an external solution was required. And, according to club sources and various Egyptian journalists, the board got in touch with Turki al-Sheikh, who had expressed his appreciation for the club in the past. The hope was that his financial support would save the board from losing control of the club. El-Sheikh agreed, and in return for his donation, asked to become the club's honorary president. Mahmoud Bibo El-Khatib, Al-Ahly chairman, approved the move and immediately began discussing with Al-Sheikh the future transfers that they wanted to complete. And things seemed to go well. Al-Sheikh even persuaded the famous Argentinian coach Ramon Diaz to take the Al-Ahly manager's position. The Alaouis, Al-Ahly fanatics, were delighted regarding the news of the incoming coach, but according to reports, Al-Sheikh then guided Diaz into signing a lucrative contract at a Saudi club instead, and this didn't go down well. Up to the beginning of this decade, Egypt was seen as the leader of the Sunni countries in the Arab world. Since the Arab Spring, the fall of President Hosni Mubarak, the civil war, and the recent Egyptian revolution, the country has lost its status as the most powerful and influential Sunni country in the region, to Saudi Arabia. Moreover, in recent years, Egypt has economically relied on Saudi Arabia, who have become something of an insurance policy in the current climate of the region. This fact has fostered a wave of hostility from some in Egypt towards Saudi gestures and investment in the country. The Diaz story added to existing frustrations. Al-Ahly fans were furious with Al-Sheikh, and some began to protest his activity within the club. The fact that he was a foreigner, especially from Saudi Arabia, only fanned the flames. Ultimately, El-Sheikh decided to leave the club, saying he didn't want to stay in a place in which he didn't feel wanted. He also claimed that he'd spent around €13 million financially supporting the club. 2 weeks later, he bought Al-Suti Sport and began his revolution at the club. In addition, he then filed a lawsuit against Al-Ahly, requesting that the club return his investment. I was keen on making Al-Ahly and their fans my top priorities, and I followed their worries and ambitions with much interest, El-Sheikh wrote on his Facebook page. But I am disappointed by the disrespectful way people have treated me here, despite my efforts to help. Everything was set for a battle on and off the pitch between Al-Sheikh and Al-Ahly, though a week prior to the league's opening match day, he surprisingly decided to revoke the lawsuit. Everyone has been forgiven. I've been attacked by some of the masses and the media, but I confirm my appreciation and respect to all Al-Ahly fans, he said to local media. But Al-Sheikh's controversies continued. He sacked Pyramid's coach after 9 games, of which they'd just lost 1, and he revealed his desire to renew the Saudi-Egyptian Super Cup, a regional club competition which was in a 15-year hiatus. He planned to get the Saudi champions, Al Hilal, to host Al-Ahly in a prestigious event in Riyadh. During an African Champions League game soon after, Al-Ahly fans in response chanted from the stands about Al-Sheikh. They downplayed the importance of the Super Cup, saying that the continental competition was more important. They also insulted Al-Sheikh's mother using abusive language. For Al-Sheikh, this was the final straw. He quickly decided to leave all of his business in Egypt. The news broke on Pyramids TV, the football club's in-house channel, stating that the Saudi had decided to withdraw permanently from his new enterprise. Despite his decision, El-Sheikh promised to respect all the contracts of the team's players, staff, as well as the channel's crew. At the moment, Al-Sheikh is technically the owner of Pyramids FC, but has declared that he will no longer invest any further in the aspiring project or in Egypt. But Pyramids FC is indeed an inspiring project, and the story behind it sheds light on the way that things are currently running in Egyptian and Middle Eastern football.